Hello everyone, this is One-Eyed Willie. Track season is upon us. My wife wanted to get a car that she could take on the track but also still drive on the road. So that makes upgrading this 94 Corvette a little more challenging. We picked this up for $6,500. It's got 101,000 miles. The previous owners did absolutely nothing to it as usual. So what I wanted to go through is the recommendations I would make so that your car will handle better but not be abusive on a regular street road. Cost-effective ways to make your Corvette be able to handle better. That's the biggest problem with Corvettes, is they make them with high horsepower. They make them so that they ride nice. So you've got all this horsepower but no ability to corner. And so what I wanted to go through is ways to turn your standard Corvette into a Vette that would do pretty well on a track. Mainly so you're not getting passed by Miatas, which is the most annoying thing for any Corvette driver. So what I wanted to go through first was the first steps I would take. First would be to change the motor oil. Now, if you're going to be racing a lot, I recommend the Valvoline VR1 full synthetic 10W30. That helps, especially these Corvettes will run hot on the track, up to 300 degrees, and this oil does very well. If you don't want to spend $9 a quart, then I recommend Pennzoil. Platinum full synthetic 5W30. Even a step up from this would be the Ultra Platinum. And the Ultra Platinum is a Pennzoil specific grade that is totally made from natural gas. It's the only one like it in the world. And the Ultra Platinum outperforms Mobil 1. Of course, if you have a Corvette, it always recommends synthetic Mobil 1, which is fine. If you're going to take it to a track, what I would recommend is you make sure you have fresh motor oil, and then when you're done for a weekend or a couple weekends, you flush it anyway. So, and then I recommend the Wix filter. This one specifically for a 92 to 96 Corvette. And the reason is based on studies, this filter outperforms many of the others, especially Fram. Fram oil filters are garbage, but they're cheap, and that's why everybody sells them. So I recommend a Wix. You could also get a Mobil 1. Next up, you'll want to flush the transmission. I shouldn't say flush, but pull the pan, change the filter, put in some more Dexmerk. There are racing transmission fluids, which is what I use in my track-specific car. But if it's not going to be a track-specific car, just change it with what the manufacturer recommends. This is one of them. The reason I have this is because it's 15 bucks for a gallon. And that's all you're going to need to do the service on a transmission. Don't ever flush everything out of the transmission. You need to leave oil in it, especially in the torque converter and all the valves inside. So that would be the second thing you need to do. You'll also want to change the gear oil in your rear end. This is what I recommend. You're not going to do the rear end oil much, so you might as well go ahead and put some really good oil in it. This is 300, that LS stands for limited slip. You can get this on Amazon, believe it or not, cheaper than anywhere else. And if you have a Prime account, it ships for free. You'll want to also flush your power steering and use a racing formula power steering fluid. And the reason is your power steering doesn't hold a lot of volume, and it'll get extremely hot when you're doing turns. You're putting a lot of stress on the car when you're turning on a track. So I recommend using a racing power steering fluid. Now you can just suck out what's in there and then just top it back off. But what I like to do is pull the bottom, one of these bottom valves, and then plug it, and then put the new fluid in, turn the wheels back and forth, and then just keep filling it with the new fluid until all the old fluid's out. Once you get and you've used an entire quart, you've pretty much evacuated all of the old oil. And the reason I know that is because I totally flushed, removed all the housings and fittings on another car, and it took 2, but that was because I added a cooler. So I recommend this fluid. Last, you're going to want to flush the brake fluid. Now I can go into more detail if you want on how to do this properly, but what I recommend is that you use a DOT-4 fluid. Now this Pentacin is pretty reasonable for its threshold for heat, and if you know anything about being on a track, your brakes will get very hot, your brake lines will get very hot, your rotors will get hot, and so you need something a little more than DOT-3. So, and this brand, based on all the studies, fares very well compared to even the higher end, and it costs a lot less. I ordered those on Rock Auto. Some auto parts stores will actually carry it, so you can get it there. Be careful of the Super DOT-4 LV, which means low viscosity. I'm not sure you want to put that in unless your car requires it. That's gonna be all for this introduction. I'm going to go ahead and get all these fluids changed before I move on to what parts you'll want to change and why I've chosen to just upgrade those parts and not other parts. If you have any questions, or if you would like more step-by-step on how to do certain things, just let me know, and I'll try to cover them as best as I can. I understand there's differences between a C4, a C5, a C6, but in general, they're all built the same. There's not a lot of differences between them. So a lot of what is applicable to C4 will still be true for C5 and C6, even with the upgrades. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them at the end. Like this video or leave a comment if you'd like to see more, and I'll go through step by step how to turn a Corvette into a better handling, more capable track car. Thanks, and God bless.